Hi everyone, welcome to Dialing with Des. Forgot what YouTube channel I was on there. The latest episode on the DoreOnTour YouTube channel. Looking forward to another evening talking all things Forest, of course, mulling over the weekend and that result, as well as looking forward to everything that's going to happen this week. Really looking forward to getting stuck in. Of course, I was on the review show last night, so this is a chance for you guys to have your say, the last word, as it usually is. Whilst I did talk a little bit about the weekend and gave a lot of thoughts out hosting as a replacement for Dore, we'll try and look a little bit more than normal at what's coming up rather than just be that last word in the weekend. There's some guys waiting in the wings to come on. Of course, it's an opportunity to get on, have your say, get off your chest anything that's on your mind about Forest right now. Of course, we had that bad result, as I've said already, but we've got so much to look forward to. Before getting into tonight's show, just the usual stuff. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Dore's creeping up to that 11,000 mark. That's a pretty damn good effort, isn't it? You know, he's worked really hard at this, and it's great to see him getting the rewards of it too. So any more subscribers will be much welcome. And please do like this episode. Give a thumbs up now in that bottom corner. Never get it right, no matter how many times I try and do that. You know where it is. Hit that thumbs up and show some support for this stream and what I'm doing here as well. Hopefully, I don't get sacked in the morning after back-to-back shows. So it'd be nice to get some support and get some nice comments too. If you've got anything to say, you're a little bit unsure about coming on, please do drop us a comment. I'll try and read out as many of those as I can. Just put that link up if you did want to drop in. There's the link. Like I said, there is a few guys waiting. We'll try and get through as many as absolutely possible, you know, and like I say, get to the crux of whatever's on your mind. If you want to support the channel in other ways, of course, I always push this. I like to support Dore. You know, I don't have to do this, but I like to support what he's doing because I appreciate the content that he puts out for us all, the vlogs, the post-match reaction these days, the previews, and of course the interviews he's got on his channel. It all comes with a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. So if you want to be a member of the channel and get some of that content a little bit sooner and just help him in sort of achieving whatever he can achieve next. I know he's got a lot of plans in the pipeline to try and improve the content and try and put different things out there. You know, you can be a member, £2.99 a month. You know, I pay it and I actually do this. He doesn't pay me. I think it's worthwhile because I take a lot from it. You know, I've met lots of people talking about Forest, and of course, I've had one or two opportunities of my own to do this. Whilst I'm talking about opportunities of my own, if you could subscribe to my channel, do daily, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. Spelt it is there. I mention this all the time, but there's lots of people who support me from the DoreOnTour YouTube channel. That's absolutely amazing. I really, really appreciate it. But it's just a small channel talking about positivity and enthusiasm for looking after yourself, enjoying the things that we do, you know. And for me, that means football, you know, doing a bit of football content here and there, you know, and I just like to sort of enthuse about it and let people know it's okay to it's okay to be okay. You know, we're always told it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to be positive and enthusiastic as well. And of course, it's just a touch on mental health. I don't get too technical. I just talk about my own experiences. So if you can get behind that, just drop us a subscription and perhaps tune into one or two episodes to see what it's all about. You know, I'm just talking about the things I do. This gives me an opportunity to talk about something I probably know a little bit more about, although I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm a little bit more confident talking about this. So really, really enjoy Monday night, guys. There's lots of opportunities to support there. And of course, if you want to donate for a super chat, a one-off sort of payment, again, it all goes to improving the channel. Believe me, it doesn't go into my back pocket. If you know, Dore is the tightest bloke in the world, so none of it goes elsewhere. But it all does go back into the channel, to be fair. So please get behind it if you can in that sense. like I say, lots to get through. Start off with a couple of early comments coming in. Eve, as ever, she's tuning in. Good evening, Des. Hope you're well. Hope you're well, Eve. Hope you're looking forward to coming to the game on Saturday. And sunny day evening, Des on tour. Feels like that at the moment, doesn't it? It feels like I'm taking over this channel. You know, that Dore wants to watch out. He's got competition from all angles at the minute, it seems. But competition is good. So let's keep it positive. Let's keep it all excitable. You know, like I say, Forest have got so much to look forward to. So why can't we? Gonna crack straight on. I'll keep commenting as they come in. But I'm gonna get the first guest in. Charlie's been waiting patiently. Good evening, mate.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good. Just about getting over that result at the weekend, and
yeah, it was a bit grim, wasn't it? I was listening to it on the radio. I didn't travel up myself, but yeah, I had to turn it off at 3-0. I was fed up.
Fed up? Was it that bad on the television? Did you go? Obviously, you turned off on the television, so yeah. It was that bad, was it? It was hard.
It did not sound joyous at all. I think commentary was there. I had my girlfriend in the car as well, and I think it was just an extra excuse to get the radio off from Forest, to be honest. So not good, not impressed. But it's not a side we're gonna play for the rest of the season. You'd hope injuries, helping that. So I'm not massively upset in terms of the grand scheme of things. We've got bigger fish to fry, and actually I think we don't need to be in the FA Cup. We've got the Carabao Cup, got the league. That'll do me, to be honest.
Absolutely. Although I did say a lot last night. I don't know if you saw it, Charlie. You just got to take each game as it comes, haven't you? And with Forest at the moment, whilst there's been massive improvement in recent weeks, we can all see that from the league. It still feels a little bit fragile, doesn't it? It still feels. I'm not being negative because I think they're going to stay up. I'll put it out there now. I think they're going to win on Wednesday and give us an exciting semi-final to look forward to. But it just feels a little bit fragile, and that's the worry when we get beat and when we get beat in such a manner, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, I'm getting more and more comfortable with the attacking side of the team now. I know we're not scoring bags of goals still, but you can see how Taiwo's come on in the past few games. He's been phenomenal. I think Johnson's looked like a different player after the World Cup as well. But the defensive fragility that we still seem to have, and it is getting there with that more established back four now. But I think what Saturday did show, if anything, and if there was any worries about Saturday, it was if one of those players slip out, I'm not sure there's a good enough cover there anymore. I know McKenna, actually, in terms of rating, didn't have a particularly bad game in comparison to the rest of the team. But yeah, I'm looking at probably Cook and Toffolo as the two scapegoats down. I won't bring Williams in because I think Williams adds an attacking dimension, not possibly defensive, but I don't mind Williams. But Toffolo and Cook in particular worry me. I think we have brought them on in the last few minutes of recent games, Toffolo, and I like them. I like them as players, but I'm not sure they're good enough to keep us up.
I think what it shows, of course, it's definitely showed that it seemed like Cooper stumbled across his best 11. We were questioning that. I think we had a conversation earlier in the season about that. I think it's shown he's definitely found his best 11, but it shows even because I've made comments about one or two of these first team players, who I feel we could improve on to get a little bit more out of, or if they improved, they would massively improve our chances. I think January is going to be so important, getting 2, 3, 4 players in of real quality. Let's not keep bulking out the squad. Whilst there were 11 changes on Saturday, and whilst it was poor, not every single one of them players was at fault for every situation. There were some really poor performances. Don't get me wrong. I spoke about it a lot last night. But if we can use them sparingly, if we've got an 11 and then 3 or 4 really good players, that's 15, and then you're still going to need those players in different positions.
Yeah.
But at the moment, for me, we beat Southampton, and of course we take the performance and we take the result, but I still, and it's encouraging in many ways. I still feel we're carrying 3 or 4 players.
Yeah, I agree. I like Freya as a player, and he's very divisive. I think probably for the football purist, he's our best player. But just looking as the game, as you see it, I often find he gets lost. And I think with the Southampton game, for example, when he lost his cool a little bit, he then felt like a liability. We felt vulnerable because he was on that yellow card, and he was already kind of losing control. You saw it at the end of the game as well. Be whatever that situation was with Cooper, I think it was a joke, but he was a bit on edge, and that troubled me. So I don't know if you've seen reports this evening that Danilo from Palmeiras, we're currently we've put a bid in apparently for 18 million, and he was
Kieran, what do you reckon for Danilo being there? What do you reckon?
I can't say I've seen too much of him. I don't avidly watch Brazilian football, but I can go off the fact that we know Arsenal were very, very interested in him in the summer, and I think the price point at the time was about 25 million. I think was the asking price. So 18 million, we might be lowballing right now, but with our Arsenal's recruitment in recent years, I think that can only be a good sign. And yeah, absolutely, as that comment says, Agent Scarpa there for sure. I like the Brazilian Rubik's Cube maestro. Definitely having a good influence on the squad, isn't he?
Absolutely, but it's joking aside there, and I know Sonny probably is joking, but you sign players, from certain areas, and you sign better players, and what's going to happen? You're going to sign even more people. Yeah. I've heard in recent weeks, in one or two quarters, that people are desperate to sign for Forest, even in the predicament we're in this season. People want to be part of this project, want to be part of Steve Cooper. I don't know. I'm a massive fan. I'll bang the drum every day of the week for him. But it's really interesting to know, isn't it? Because that's going to reverberate around football, and then people are going to think, well, if they do stay up, and if I can go there and help them stay up, we're going to push on next season. We're going to do. Like I say, those 3 or 4 players for me make the team better than those teams they're fighting with. I think at the moment there's almost 5 teams on a par, and Southampton, we could have been 1-0 down after 5 minutes and lost that game 1-0 when Che Adams went through. Yeah. So I think we're in that bracket of 5 where it's pretty much evenly balanced. If we get those 3 or 4 first teamers to add to what we've got, of course, I'm talking about the positions of 4. I'm looking at the left back position. Perhaps I keep banging on about a number 6. Somebody to really sit where 4 does. So perhaps he can go and be a new signing for.
Absolutely.
I feel that would take us almost leaning towards mid-table. Becoming an Aston Villa or a Crystal Palace.
A little bit more dangerous. Teams don't think, it's an easy 3 points. I think even against Southampton, I don't know if you watched that brilliant video of the Southampton fan when it was trending afterwards, the one who sat just in front of the away fans. But he was so confident they beat us, and they've been on a horrible run of form. They've not even got a single point under Jones in the league. So the fact that even they think they can beat us still shows that teams that watch us, teams that know us a little bit, know that we can be beaten on any given day. So it'd be nice to definitely shore up. And I think centre back. I think the Bolly and the Worrell connection is good for now, and it seems to be bearing fruit. But I do think if Niakate is still going to be out for a while, we need another one. We need someone with pace.
Absolutely, because I think that's going to kill us at times, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I keep saying it, and I've been critical of the midfield, but when we have dominated the midfield, we generally won the match. I think of the Palace and the Liverpool games, which sounds like a big call to say players who are saying perhaps need changing have dominated the match. But that's what happens in the Premier League when you win. But the problem is if you don't win that midfield and you've got no pace at the back, you could be in for a bit of a hiding. And we've had one or two of those, 3 or 4 of those. So I think these players are important. What I will ask you, just like before we get the rest of the guys in, we spoke a lot there about positions and transfers and how we sort of come through games into the Premier League again. What positions are you looking for in January? What would you call now? 3 signings.
I would say
names to them. Great.
I'll try and put names to them. I think, and this is the really easy one. I think for me, and I know that there was a good stat I saw that Suridge's conversion rate is the same as Taiwo's. I think they're both 50% with shots on target. but I don't think Suridge is quite up for the Premier League level yet. I think he could be. I would loan him out. But I think Becker from Union Berlin, just from what I've watched for this season, I've watched a few Bundesliga games this season, and he's got that pace, he's got that strength that Taiwo has, but possibly a little bit more control on the ball. And if we're going to insist on playing Taiwo on the left, as it seems we are, then I'd quite like to see an out-and-out striker. Maybe a little bit deeper in number 9, which I'm not sure Becker quite is. But I think that's the obvious one for me. And then, as I said, centre-back, someone with a little bit of pace, but experience too. And that's the hard thing, isn't it, really, trying to find that. In a beautiful world, and this goes against the pace thing, Harry Maguire, I think he's available this transfer window. I think you'd have to pay minimum 35 million, but I think he showed at the World Cup that with the right coach and a bit of confidence, he is still able to be one of the best players in the league. Certainly defenders in the league, I think. So, I mean, you don't get into the World Cup team of the tournament, by just coasting, do you? So.
No, I think Maguire's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we've all been a bit critical with his form with England and Man United, but they played him in such a way. I think potentially, if you sign someone like Maguire, you end up going back to a 5, and he looks the player he was at Leicester. That's the sort of thing, and we've probably got players a bit more adept at playing that formation. When you look at the fullbacks in particular, I think they're probably classed as wing backs, apart from Aurora. He's doing a great job, mind at right back. But you look at Nico Williams and Lodi, they're probably wing backs. The centre backs, because of the pace, are probably better in a 3. The midfield probably balances up a little bit differently. So it's a good call, and you never know. I have seen he's been linked with Aston Villa. Seems to be the one that
I think that was dispelled from Percy. I think today, John Percy, I think, said there was nothing in that, or maybe it was Fabrizio Romano. One of the two, I think, said there's not been any contact right now. So I'm keeping all things crossed, because I'd love Maguire to sign for us, to be honest.
And what, before we do go, of course, we had that disappointment. We've got a really exciting week ahead. How do you see the next 2 games panning out? How do you see the season sort of taking on from that defeat?
I think it depends on Taiwo's fitness, personally. I think that's such a pivotal he's such a pivotal figure in this team now that, how we attack Wednesday, I think we'll either really, really drive at them if Taiwo's in the squad, or I think it'll be pure midfield, kicking shins, studs up, a real gruesome battle, which I think we've actually come off worse than other teams in a lot of games. I think the Bournemouth game, for example, it was a very similar style, and we didn't quite get the result. So I'd quite like there to be that driven force of Taiwo, and I think that would make me more confident. But I'm always going to back Forest to win. I do think Wolves are looking particularly fragile. I think Lopetegui is not really sorting them out that much, and I don't fancy, as I've said in a video before, Diego Costa as an attacking threat is not someone that particularly troubles me. So I think Wolves. I would comfortably think 2-0. Right, I'd be confident in saying. The Leicester game, I don't want to touch on it just because of the away game. I don't want to jinx anything. I just want to sit there and watch it in peace and hope for the best, because I think that last game just showed anything can happen. I thought we'd win, and we got battered. So I don't want to say anything just yet.
Well, great to have you on, mate. Great to have you on first. Great conversation. What I will say is Charlie's such a good talker because he's got his own YouTube channel. Do you want to give it a plug, Charlie? Yeah,
it's literally just my name, Charlie K. I've not posted in a month and a half. I had a little bit of a World Cup break, but there is plans for tomorrow or Wednesday there to be a video up. So please do go and hit the subscribe button even, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Get over there, guys. Give him some support, and if you need any support, give me a shout, mate, and we'll do what we can to support each other. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, mate.
Right, cheers for coming on.
As always.
Great point. Thank you. Just want to pick up on something Charlie said there about the Wolves game, and he really fancies us, the Strikers. Do you know what I think we can do, Wolves? I think we've got it within us, and especially with the way the home form's been, and a big night. I guess it's going to be in the City Ground. It's going to be quite raucous, and I'm sure everybody's going to be up for it. The one thing that worries me is that midfield situation again. Massive fan of Ruben Neves. I think he's such a good player for them. And when we played them away, it was a bit of an ugly game, but he seemed to just run the show for them. He actually scored the winner from the spot, so there's not much in that in terms of actually creating the goal, but he seemed to run the show, and I just think it'll be a crucial battle in that game. So if you've got any thoughts on the Wolves game, any thoughts on Leicester or where we go from here, or of course you want to dig the dirt on the weekend and everything that happened there, please do get in touch. Keep your comments coming. I'll get through some of those. Just comment here. We need players who see his vision. I think this is referring to Scarpa. Scarpa next level. Of course, there was lots of positives to take from his performance again at the weekend. Comment here from Dan, who's actually waiting in the wings. Can we have a poll? Who's better, Dore or Des? There's no question. We don't need the poll, Dan. We know. Just kidding. Mark says, good evening. Good evening, Mark. Thanks for the comments so far. Eve is really excited to come on Saturday. We're all looking forward to seeing you. So that should be good, Eve. Paul is in saying, good evening, all. Forget last Saturday now. Concentrate on up-and-coming games, which are far more important. Last year, every time we had a game like Saturday, we came back stronger. It was a point I was making last night, but it was a point I was making about being in the Cup. The Cups became a free hit for Forest. It gave us good opportunities to rest and recover players. So I get Paul's point totally there. But I think they sometimes just break things up nicely in terms of the rest of the season. Although he's right as well, we have to concentrate on the next game. Football's always about the next game, isn't it? You can't change what's gone before. It's always about trying to be positive, looking forward to it, and working out how we're going to do a bit of a job on Wolves. We spoke about Danilo there, a couple of guys mentioning that. If you've got any other names that you've heard, Kieran says he's only watched clips. Apparently, he's an aggressive defensive midfielder from what I've read and some reviews of him. Well, that ticks the number 6 box, doesn't it? I'll be happy if that's what we're getting. A real sort of aggressive type in there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Somebody to take it to them. At times, when we are sort of ran over a little bit by these top teams, I think we're just a little bit too nice. And it's been a problem of Forest for many years. I think it's not a Cooper thing. It's just something I sense for a long time. We've never had one of those nasty players who everyone hates. If you can think of one, let me know. But I'm talking about the obvious sorts like Savage, and people like that. So if we can get someone who's in there breaking it up and getting the ball to the more attacking players, and even Foyer and Mangala, that could be really interesting. So if you've got any names to add in, drop them in the comments. It's hard to come up with names, isn't it? It's really hard to come up with names for transfers because there's so much business done abroad now. So it'll be interesting to hear what people think on that. So I've always spoke about Premiership experience, but you're not going to turn down a good player. But for me, I think someone like Danny Ings would make a massive difference. He's not a world beater, but he's realistic and he'll make a difference in a bottom 6 team. And that's sometimes what you look for. I think back to Newcastle last season, taking a bit of a punt on Chris Wood. Not really a fan of his, but it's the type of player that they needed in that scrap. And that's what I'm talking about with this number 6 role as well. Chapo says here, not since Roy Keane and Haaland days. Of course, they're the two that stick out as the nasty bleeders in midfield. So anyone like that I'd take right now, and I think it'd improve our team tenfold. Moving on to the next guest. He's had his say on who's better, Dore or Des. I think there's one vote for me in the comments. So, Dan, thanks for stirring up that argument. I'm sure Dore's squirming away somewhere.
So I thought someone had to point it out, but everyone was thinking it.
No, it's fine, mate. Just kidding. So what are you thinking about Forest in the minute? What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
Basically, one of them ones, what worried me the most on Saturday was, it was a different 11 from our best 11, but it just sort of worried me quite a lot that we lost 2 championships that we beat last season, and that you think, yeah, fair enough that them players don't play as regular as our first 11, but on paper we did have a better side, and on another day, the chances that we had on Saturday, we would have won that 5 or 6-4, but we couldn't take our chances. And yeah, fair enough, everyone pointing their finger at Suridge because he didn't finish. But on another day, when he's match fit, he'd be putting all them chances away.
I think I said last night on the review show that with strikers, you've got to, if they're getting in positions to score, that's the most important thing. You know, a striker can be lacking confidence, but they always say it with these top strikers, whether it's Harry Kane or Wayne Rooney in the past, you know, they always put themselves in a position to score. So as long as they're getting the chances, as long as they're missing, you know, if they're not even getting the ball or they're roaming around trying to tackle themselves, a bit like someone else on the pitch on Saturday, that's when the worry comes in. I think with Suridge, you know, he is what he is. You know, he splits the fan base now right into. There's those that say he's not good enough, he's not quick enough, he's not the best finisher at the club. There's those that say he is quick, he is this, he is that. But he's genuine, isn't he? And at times, you know, all you want from your players when you're not quite good enough, because there's times this season we haven't been good enough in the Premier League. It's not just against Blackpool in the FA Cup. When you're not good enough, all you want is a bit of endeavour, you know, some honesty. So, like, if it was a straight choice between, I know what's been said about Dennis, but say Tyro was injured, and for me, if it was a straight choice between Suridge and Dennis, I'd have Suridge every day of the week. I think it's important to remember that because, again, the guy keeps putting himself in positions, and that shows some bravery, you know. Football's a tough world. It's a hard place at times, and it's easy to go hiding and missing. So if Sam just keeps putting himself up there, and you know, it'll happen one day. You know, we saw it against Swansea. You know, we created lots of chances against Swansea. Yes, we made it a little bit easier for him, you know, because Swansea weren't very good, but Blackpool weren't good as well at times, and they finished more difficult chances than Forest had. So I think it's important to keep perspective with Saturday. It was a horror show. It was difficult, but I think there was some good to come out of it. You know, I used yesterday the fact that they played well in possession and they really struggled out of it, and that's obviously why some of these players aren't playing. Do you think, Dan?
I completely agree. I mean, it's that probably what worried me, that Cooper got that confidence in them to put them out, but they didn't really turn it up for him, which worried me. I mean, another positive that came out of Saturday, Brewster. I mean, I've always said he was a really good prospect. I mean, I watched him against Basford in pre-season, and I thought then he was really good. And for him to make his full debut and put the shift in like he did, I thought it was really, really good. It's just shame that the result like it was, but that one, and I felt like there was another thing I was thinking Saturday about. I mean, with Harper as well, he put in a really bright performance. I mean, what he was doing, I mean, shame that everyone went on his wavelength, but over time, it would be a valuable asset for me. And hopefully, keeping on the sewage topic, like, I mean, Tower had that bit more time with the players with Sammy Sewage. He is getting like 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there, but I mean, over time, when he hit 1, he hit 2 or 3. Earlier in the season, when I said when we keep a clean sheet against Brighton, we get 2 and 3, and we did.
It's happening, isn't it? You know, sometimes I think a bit of patience. Just going back to your point on Fuster, you know, whilst it was a tough game for him to come into, you know, and we probably didn't see the best of him. I wouldn't say we've seen anything to worry about from him. You know, it's a young lad making his debut. I said it last night. It's all a bit of a learning curve, isn't it? And I guess at times that it's great when a youngster comes into a thriving team, you know, a team playing well, and it would have been great for him if we could have gone and sort of walked over Blackpool to some degree, and he'd get confidence from that. But it's also it's character building stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a situation where you kind of thrown in and you have to learn quickly, and sometimes that can be the making of strong characters. If he has got that sort of strength and he can improve and get more involved in games as time goes on, and games where we're on the front foot, then we've probably got another great option to come through from the youth academy, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. And it was nice to see Uson involved for the first time in the setup, which will only build confidence for him because he's only a young lad himself as well. So it's great to see Cooper giving the youngsters that chance as well, which will bode well for everyone else who is coming through.
Okay, so obviously we spoke about Blackpool there and some of the things that happened in that game. How do you see the Wolves game going? Do you think we're going to win the game, get 3 points, or are we going to lose and end up back in a relegation dogfight right in the middle of it? How do you see the next 7 days going in as a Forest fan?
I'll be honest here, I just sort of resetting myself like, yeah, fair enough, Saturday, probably just one blunder game. And I look at Wolves thinking, if we're playing like we have been doing, where we have been performing and we're battling and we put out that strongest 11, I can't see us getting to the semi-finals without shadow doubt. I think you've got to go into it positivity because, I mean, the amount of times we've seen it last season, like under Cooper, we didn't feel like we were losing. So I think Wolves, they're beatable, like anyone is. Saturday against Leicester, that'd be a big game, and I feel like we get a win there, it will start to move us forwards, to be fair. So I feel like I can see us getting 2 wins, to be fair, and it'll just get that momentum back in which we do need.
And that'll be great going into another sort of big away game down at Bournemouth, won't it? So hopefully you're right, Dan. Thanks for coming on tonight. Really, really appreciate it. Some great points about Fuster. So cheers for joining in.
It's all right. No worries. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thank you. Just a comment there about Fuster deserves a loan out somewhere. Again, it's great for young players. I'm not sure what sort of stage he's at. I do watch a bit of the youth team football, and I've seen a bit of him, and he does look a good prospect. Just looking down the comments, Mark says, Dirty Savage, that wasn't the one. Sonny D says, Ings is a good shout, but I don't think he'd leave. Maybe not. He's moved quite a lot, hasn't he, recently? He scored at the weekend as well. Came on for Ollie Watkins, who's obviously Villa's first choice. So that gives me some kind of hope, that he might. But again, he might not be the player that Cooper's looking for. And he doesn't exactly fit the age profile of what Forest have gone after in recent years. Whether that, of course, it does change slightly. We signed Steve Cook last year to get over the line. Sonny D's taking a bit of responsibility as well for Blackpool. I call Blackpool basically a League One side, and it seemed to annoy a number of Blackpool fans. Oops. Well, they were up for it on Saturday, and they did remind us that we're having a good time in the Premier League. 1 or 2 more comments. First class roller coaster and fish and chips, grill pubs, and other than that, Blackpool sucks. I made the most of it as well, Mark. I was there for the weekend. Plenty of pubs, plenty of pints. Probably a few too many. Reason I've started my health kick a few days late this year. But no, Blackpool's always a great weekend. And it's not going to happen. But if we do get relegated, then you've got trips like Blackpool to look forward to. Not got many of those nice places to visit in the Premier League. We'll take the big grounds instead. Keep your comments coming, guys. Really, really appreciate it. And those viewers are creeping up. Don't forget to hit that like button, support the episode, and do subscribe to DoreOnTour. That would be absolutely brilliant. Try and get the man himself up to 11k. We'd really, really appreciate that. I'd appreciate it if you could support my channel too. Do daily. It's just a bit of positivity, enthusiasm about the things I enjoy, other than football mainly. don't talk much football on there because I probably talk too much on DoreOnTour these days. So I don't want to be spreading it all too thin. But no, if you can get behind that, it'd be a massive help to me. And I do appreciate all the DoreOnTour guys that get involved. And of course, if you want to come on this evening, there is a link, which I'm just scrolling through. The man himself posted it up there. If you want to come on and have your say, there's people queuing up. We'll be happy to have you. Absolutely anyone can join in. It'd be brilliant to have new faces as well as anybody who's been on before. Just keep the conversation going about Forest and keep us all feeling good about what's happening. Is someone feeling good? Probably because she's coming to that game on Saturday. Eve, I'm feeling confident about Wednesday and Saturday, and I'm 100% confident we will survive in the Premier League. I hope I can see you on Saturday. You will be in the usual spot. You know, Dore will be doing his thing, getting his previews around by the between the club shop and the boot room. So do come along. Anybody who wants to come and say hello, please do. Of course, I do my pitch football stuff, a few previews for a football website that like a bit of a quirky edge on it. You know, a raw edge. Obviously, it is raw because I'm doing the interviews, but not trained, not professional, just like Dore himself. We're just getting the most from what we enjoy, and that's what it's all about. So without going on about all that too much, like I say, keep your comments coming, but I'm going to get a regular to the show in. Adam, are you all right?
I'm all right, thanks, Des. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What's on your mind about Forest this week? Are you looking backwards or forwards?
I'm looking forwards. That's why I'm smiling at the minute. So I think the FA Cup game, bit of a blur now, I like to say. I'm not going to talk too much about it because, you know, my guy likes to move forward and move on to the next game, you know, like anybody else does, really. And but just one thing I say about that game, it was just, I'm going to put it in basic terms. We didn't put our chances away, and Blackpool did and punished us. So, and that's what you can get in football sometimes if you don't put your chances away. So, looking forward now to the Carabao Cup quarter-final tie against Wolves at the City Ground on Wednesday. Yeah, I'm pretty confident going into that. You know, we've got to take every team serious with a little bit of respect, not too much. But yeah, I think we're definitely missing like a number 6. You know, like you mentioned about Ruben Neves. You know, we need someone like a Ruben Neves. You know, it can spark into life in that midfield, other than like doing, you know, kind of the dirty work and running around and making himself visible nearly every time. So I completely agree with you on, you know, on the Ruben Neves like kind of style player. But other than that, really, I'm confident going into that game. And other than that, the Leicester game that's on Saturday. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm still surprised it's at 3:00. I thought it would have got moved a few weeks ago for television. You know, we've been in East Midlands derby, but it's at 3:00. But then again, Chelsea and Brentford have played, you know, against each other in the West London derby. I think it was last season actually, and they played at 3:00. So, you know,
it's the weekend of derbies, isn't it? You've got the Manchester derby, you've got the North London derby this weekend. So it's the weekend of derby. So we perhaps we're not seemed important enough. And to be honest, Adam, it's a mid-table clash these days. So there's nothing riding on it. You know, both teams are safe from relegation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you made a good point about the derbies. So, but yeah, you know, it's you know, it's going to be one of those situations, really. And I think coming into that now, we just got to just take that game, you know, going to Wednesday, get with confidence. Yeah, I think we'll beat Wolves, but my only worry is if we get to the semi-final, we've got 2 legs to play. You know, it'd be like playing a playoff game all over again. At this stage of the season, you know, when we've still got injuries, you know, perhaps when the semi-final will come along, perhaps Lingard will be fit by then. I know Cooper said in his press conference that it's around about 2 weeks at the minimum. So, no, when Cooper talks about injuries, you know, players come back soon. I think that's my only worry. Yeah, I want us to get a semi-final, of course I do, but just a bit worried about the 2-legged semi-final. You know, this stage of the season, with our main priority staying in the Premier League, it may knacker some players out and perhaps cause injuries. I hope not. I hope to, on God's green earth, it don't happen.
Would it not be exciting, Adam? Would it not be exciting?
I'm just confident. You know, I'm confident beating Wolves. It's just that little worry, you know what I mean, and thinking what we've got at the moment. But unless we get some additions in the January transfer window, then I'll be less worried. But if we don't by then I'm thinking, what's going on here?
I don't want to be patronising, mate, because you're a bit younger than me. It's a compliment, if anything. But two of my favourite. Probably my three favourite Forest games were League Cup semi-finals. One against Coventry at home where Pearce scored and all the rain come off the net. People comment if they know about it. And Roy Keane scoring at White Hart Lane, a bullet header again in the rain. We was under the cosh and we just scraped through these ties. And I think, I know the League Cup's not the same these days, but for old farts like me, people who've watched a lot of football over the last 30 years, those were special occasions. And again, it just shows progress. I know what you're saying. I understand your point about more games, but surely we want more games as well, don't we? We want a chance to have a pop. When a Manchester City or a Man United might get a bit complacent in the first leg, when we might nick a 2-0 win or a 3-1, or and either bring it back or go to their place. And again, you just never know in football. Football's got a habit of throwing up the biggest surprises you can imagine. Look at Stevenage yesterday.
Yeah,
they didn't just beat Aston Villa. They came from behind with about 10 minutes to go.
And look at Wrexham. They were 2-0 up against Coventry. Okay, they got pegged back a little bit, but they still got on and won it. And Jonathan Panzo got sent off, wasn't that in that game as well? So. But it's crazy. There's been that many sharks, and okay, probably say Blackpool beating us was like a mini shark, but other than that, really, like you said, you made a great point. The FA Cup's proved it this weekend. You never know in football. It's a funny old game.
Well, there's about 7 or 8, isn't there? But we're sort of moving on from that again. Of course, you said you're confident with these games. Any sort of points. Do you know what? I'm never one for a draw because I still think Forest are the biggest club in the world and we should beat every team that comes onto our pitch. But you know what? I don't think Leicester, a draw would actually be necessarily a bad result.
No.
Considering what they did to us earlier in the season, considering we're on a bit of a momentum, we've got a bit of a run going at home, and then the next league fixture is Bournemouth, which it becomes very, very winnable. Again, not taking anything for granted, just like Southampton, it could swing both ways. But you think the points now, just that accumulation, 1s, 3s, getting a last-minute equaliser or getting a last-minute winner here and there, I think it's so important. So for me, I think if we can beat Wolves, come through the Leicester game kind of not too unscathed, unscathed. I think we've got a real chance of really kicking on. Should we get 1 or 2 players, and that's kind of what I want to ask you about. Sort of lastly is players. We started to touch on it. There's not been a great deal of activity so far in the January transfer window. There never really is till the last few days. People talk a lot, and you don't hear very much. So, have you got any ideas on positions, numbers, players of who you'd like to see in?
Obviously, Kieran messaged me earlier about Danilo. We've been linked with him from this Brazilian side, and but I've had a big read of him. Yeah, he is an aggressive player. It's something we needed, like a number 6. So it would fit the bill at Forest. I think we definitely need a centre off. I'm not too sure about Harry Maguire, to be honest. But who knows? Cooper could get the best out of him, And I wasn't too sure about Aurier when he first came. I'm not going to lie to you. Because I know he was. I read that he had a bad attitude at Arsenal and a bit of an attitude at Villarreal. But he came in, and I thought, you know what? Okay, you just got to give these players like a second chance, perhaps. And knowing, with Cooper, I knew he would make him change his attitude, and he has. And you know what? He's been absolute bargain of a signing. So, but I mean, regards to a centre, we definitely need a centre forward. Like Dave said many weeks ago, someone like a young Glenn Murray, someone who's gonna someone who's going to get in the box, you know, who's going to create chances perhaps as well. You know, knows where to get in the right places at the right time. Danny Ings can do that. But obviously the only minor thing with, you know, the kind of the downside with him, he's quite injury prone. But on his day, you know, with his experience, you know, he knows where the back of the net is. And perhaps, you know, Cooper might not want someone like him, like you said, Des, earlier. You know, perhaps it's not in the age bracket for him. But he may look at him and think, hang on a second, this guy's made some England caps. He's, you know, he scored goals for Villa. You know, he's banged goals in the Championship with Burnley in the past. You know, he's been at Southampton and got some goals as well. So for me, I've always been a big fan of Danny Ings ever since both Burnley and Forest were in the Championship, and when he was at Burnley. So, you know, because when he came into that Burnley side, he was like the replacement for like Charlie Austin, who went to QPR from that point. So Danny Ings like stepped in, and you know, he did what he needed to do, and he got the goals for him. But it's all like a Danny Ings, you know, someone like him, or I don't know. It's hard to say. There's not many Premier League experienced centre forwards out there at the moment. You know what I mean? That realistically we're going to get. Yeah, people say, "Oh, get Tammy Abraham on loan," but he's enjoying his football in Roma. I think he scored the other night actually, because I saw some pictures on his Instagram as well, because Chris Smalling was celebrating with him. But it's a difficult one when it comes to centre forward, who to bring in, especially at the stage of the season. It's quite a difficult one if you want to try and be realistic about it. But I mean, the only realistic striker I think we could get in, and you know, because Unai Emery keeps, you know, benching him for most of the Premier League games because he keeps playing Watkins, which I don't get why. Because no disrespect to Watkins, he's a good player, but I don't think he's a Premier League player. And you know, he keeps benching Ings, who he's got far more experience in this league than Watkins has. But that's it for me. I mean, it's only Danny Ings I can really think of realistically. We could probably get as like a centre forward or a striker who, you know, knows where the back end is. But I know, well, Steve, on your cover for Door last night on the review show, he was saying we was linked with a striker for Coventry. I think he must be on about Victor Kaires, the Swedish striker.
Yeah,
I think he must.
Gorkares,
what his name is. Yeah, but I don't think we need someone like him. He reminds me of Sam Suridge a little bit. He's got that similar style as Sam Suridge, so we don't really need someone like him, because then if we'll only Suridge out to, I don't know, Sunderland or Burnley, and then we're bringing him in, it's just, then you think, well, hang on a second, we might as well going to catch Sam Suridge. So, you know, we never know, and I'm confident he's going to get into players like he always does anyway. But obviously, I heard about the news about Dave Murphy, the CEO. He left today by mutual consent. So,
just 1 second, mate. Just a couple of comments I just want to pick up on. Be careful, Des. Same could happen to you as Dave Murphy. What, victim of our own success? Just a comment here. What's this channel now? Door Des. Just to let you know, Door. I was on last night because Door had some bad news in the family. So just be kind. You know, sometimes not everything's what it seems. So just keep being kind and keep supporting the channel, and everybody appreciate it. But go on, mate. As you say, it is a big issue today. It's something we've not touched on a lot. The whole Dave Murphy thing. You know, what are your thoughts on all of this?
I was shocked to begin with. I did obviously read. I think it was John Percy who said something about it, but I read something today that apparently he was having issues with key figures at the club, and apparently with Cooper as well, not agreeing on certain transfers, etc. I don't know if I don't know if that's true. We don't know if it's true fully yet, do we? It could be paper talk, but he must have left for some reason. It said mutual consent, so it must be for some reason. So we probably might find out months down the line, maybe weeks down the line. Who knows?
I think with the nature of the statement, Adam, we'll never find out, because it was all very nicey, wasn't it? When there's so much more being said, you know, I'm sure there were some genuine words in there from Dave Murphy, but I'm sure we'll never find out because it's just almost like an amicable finish to it's been going on all season, to be honest, hasn't it? There's been rumours there or thereabouts, so I'm not quite sure what we'll ever get from that. But you know, the guy came in with a big reputation, didn't he? He came in sort of all guns blazing to some degree, and there's a lot of people around Forest giving him a lot of credit. You know, lot of credit for things that have happened, and you know, getting certain players in. I think he was. I've heard it somewhere, I don't know where, on the grapevine, that he was a massive influence on getting the likes of Suridge last season. You know, and whatever people think of Suridge this season, you know, the guy helped us get over the line. He scored some pretty important goals, and at the end of the day, scoring goals is difficult. You know,
and he scored and let's say he scored a hat trick, and I don't think even Graben scored a hat trick last season, if I remember right. So
well, exactly. So the guy's obviously done some good work. He's got a big reputation. We're really interested to see where he winds up next. You know, where he ends up, and see what's happening. You know, and if he gets another big job in football, that would be really interesting because we know sometimes Forest is a bit of a graveyard, isn't it? Whether it's managers, players, staff, you know, they tend to sort of come here and something goes wrong somewhere. But from my point of view, I kind of wish him all the best. I don't, if I'm really honest, Adam, I don't really get involved in the football admin side of things. I try not to talk about it. Lots of people get bogged down with who's the CEO and who's this and who's that. It doesn't matter, because all that matters is you're winning on the football pitch. It does matter, don't get me wrong. These days, it's a real, it's all a bit more technical. Like I said, he might have had input on the Suridge signing, for example. So it does matter. But as fans, our job is to support, not support. It's to support the team, not support the admin team. You know, it's to support the team on the pitch. So I try not to get too sort of worked up or bogged down, because in any job, you know, there's internal politics. You know, there's people who don't like each other. There's people taking the credit for what he's done or what she's done. Do you know what I mean? And they shouldn't be. But again, all you can kind of look on it and is go like, all the best. Do you know what I mean? There's one or two people who've left the club recently or been replaced. You know, some of them haven't even got a mention. So it's interesting that they've come to this amicable finish, and Dane's moved on, and hopefully all the best he does well in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I just thought I'd bring it up because obviously it was all over social media and everything, and you know, it's very likable at Forest, and I thought I'd, you know, bring something like that up. And obviously, you know, it, like you said, Des, you're spot on. You know, it's about what happens on the football pitch. You could have the kid, you could have the cleaner who could become, you know, I don't know, the CEO, you know, sort of daft like that. As long as we get the business done on the pitch, and you know, we bring fans in, which we always do, of course, and singing our hearts out, home and away. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So, but I'm looking forward to see who we're going to bring in January, and hopefully the additions will make a massive impact on us and keep us up. But I think we don't. I don't think we'll stay like where we are. I think we can even go further. I'm still positive we can get ninth. I know it's a bold move. It's a bold statement for me to make at this stage, but you know, all it takes is some good results for us and us doing our business.
Well, I love the positivity. I'm not quite sure, but you know, 3 points is massive in the Premier League, and we've taken 4 from the last 2. And if you build on that with 4 from the next 2, that's 8 points. You know, 8 points compared to what we had before those games is the biggest majority. So you never know. And again, like in football, well, I appreciate your input, Adam. I appreciate you coming on. Plenty to say. There were a couple lined up after you, but they seem to have disappeared.
I was just going to say, Des, because it's like you go back to the Leicester game, like, you know, I'd take a draw against Suridge. Look, when we played, you know, I know it's the Championship, but look when we played Derby, you know, when they was on absolutely fantastic form. I hate to say it, but they were at one point, and we was playing them at home, and we drew 0-0 under Cranker, I think it was. So, you know, we would have took that, you know, we took that point well, and, you know, we moved on from it. So even if we draw against Leicester, you know, and, you know, get that win against Wolves, you know, in the Carabao Cup, I'd take that in a heartbeat, you know. But obviously I want to beat Leicester, of course. I want to beat the Bin Dippers, but but it's still take a draw at this stage. You know, it's a point to build on. So, you know, and once we, you know, after the Wolves game, bring on Leicester, bring on the Jamie Vardy. Happy days.
Happy days. Well, thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it. Good to
You're very welcome.
We'll speak again soon. Come
Absolutely. Yes. Take it easy.
Cheers,
Sure.
mate. Some good points here by Adam. Of course, he mentioned the Dave Murphy situation. It's a big talking point today. Again, whilst I've just sort of declared myself out on this one, of course, it's what the guys want to talk about. It's what you guys want to get off your chest. So there's a comment here from Howard Larwood. Big mistake to get rid of Dane. Cooper won't have his back covered now if the same happens again next season. And he follows that up by saying, hope Ventus doesn't come back. But can't rule out Billy Smart circus at the City Ground. Well, we all know how that one ended last time. So, yeah, if you've got any more comments, if you do want to pop in quickly before the show's up tonight, that's absolutely great. Like I said, I did have one or two lined up, but they seem to have disappeared. Perhaps a few internet issues. But all I really want to say is, yeah, Blackpool, you know, like the guys have said, some of the comments, you know, it's one to get over, isn't it? We've got so much more to look forward to, and it's easy to get bogged down as a Forest fan. You know, it's easy to think it could be this, it could be that. But the reality is we've come leaps and bounds in the last 12, 15 months. We've got such an exciting second half of the season to look forward to. If we do fail on Wednesday, if we do get torn into a relegation battle, you know, this is football, isn't it? This is why we love it. Just love sort of talking about it, mulling over it, you know, getting to the crux of things, you know, hearing different people's opinion. And that's what Dialing with Des is on a Monday. So any sort of given Monday, if you want to join me, you know, there's an opportunity to come on, say a few words. Of course, you don't get that opportunity all the time. People quite often hide on Twitter, social media. You won't find me or Dore himself hiding behind a false picture or a false name. You know, we are what we are. We do get criticised. That's absolutely fine. You know, that's all part of it. We put ourselves in this position to give our opinion, and somebody's always going to question that. But as long as we can have great constructive conversation, you know, put out some Forest content for people to enjoy, that's what makes us happy. And of course, watching Forest and looking forward to that as well. Just before I do check out once and for all, got some Imposter sneaking onto the feed this evening.
Are you calling an imposter? Get off my channel.
Well, the comments seem to think that Dore is no more.
Yeah, listen to me. You told the comments I'm back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, Wolves preview. So, yeah, it's a good show, Des. Good show.
Good stuff. So I'm going to treat you like a guest, Dore. Don't come on here thinking you rule the show. What's your thoughts on Forest at the minute? How are you feeling about it? What are you confident going into?
I've just seen that you said you don't talk about the what's his name, Dave Murphy situation.
We did with Adam. We just got.
Yeah, but you don't talk about the admin side of it.
I don't, do I? You know I don't. But what's your thoughts? I'm going to ask you the question.
I don't know. It's a bit a weird one, isn't it? Because I think John Percy put something on the Twitter saying about who's the Leeds manager? Marsh. Murphy wanted him, not Cooper. But when Cooper was announced, John Percy said, "Oh, Murphy, that was Murphy's man." So you don't know who to believe on who you want to do.
One thing I have heard, and again, I've no idea where this is, and it could be absolute rubbish, is Cooper's man is Nick Randall. Nick Randall, I've heard, is fought tooth and nail to keep Cooper. And obviously he's got a lot of respect from within the club and his position within the EFL as well. So it's interesting to know that, again, whilst we don't talk about admin and things that go on behind the scenes, we're here to support the team. It is interesting when you hear something like that because Nick Randall, in many ways, is the face of the club on a match day, isn't he? You know, he's is the guy who's there every week, and you see him about locally, and it's interesting that he's got. If that is the case, he's obviously got a real feel for what goes on in the city, you know, and how the fans really do want to Cooper. I know there's on Twitter and on YouTube and in other places. There's lots of Cooper in, Cooper out. But the reality is, you know, if you follow Forest home and away and you talk to people, you know, nobody wants rid of Cooper, or at least a very, very small fraction. Do you know, I was in Blackpool at the weekend, and every single person I spoke to was like, this is the best man for the job. Do you know, I was in bars, I was in pubs meeting up with strangers. Do you know, nobody influenced by my opinion or his opinion or their opinion. Do you know, everybody wants this man to do a job. So if there has been some kind of breakdown between Cooper and Murphy, do you know, it just shows again how much respect Cooper's got in there, and if Nick Randall's played a part in that, well done to that man. Do you know, because he's kept us all on side, hasn't he?
I said it's a bit weird. Like I said with the Murphy thing, well, as you know, Des, it's been coming. We spoke to a few people about it, and like I wasn't shocked when it was announced today about it, but it's what it is.
The good thing about it, though, is it's all become amicable, hasn't it? You know, from we're hearing things about, and it might still be the case, you know, being taken to court and this and that and whatever. You know, it almost seems like an amicable end to a bad situation, because we know it's been going on. So hopefully they can draw a line under it and move on. There's other people that have left the club and they've not even been denounced, have they? Do you know what I mean? So at least they've. And Forest aren't always great when they've got to be in the bonnet with someone.
Exactly. Everyone knows.
Or a manager of actually thanking them. You know, so it's really interesting, this one, and we'll just kind of see where we go. We know they employed a couple of people. We're just getting it back to the football, door. You know, we've got Wolves. You've got your preview coming up tomorrow. What do people need to look forward to?
Like I said, it's a big game, isn't it? Quarterfinals. If we beat Wolves, we're in the semi-final. Two-legged for the first time since how long? Was it 93, 94? I think it was. So, yeah, I've got a Wolves fan. I think everyone knows who it was. I forget his name now. But yeah, that starts at 9 o'clock, and I'm looking forward to it. So, everyone, make sure you watch it. I'm back. I want to say thank you, Des, for doing my review show the other day, because that's
another late night for Des.
Another late night for Des. But yeah, thank everyone for that. Like I said, watching it last night, but I just had a few issues. But I'm back. I'm ready now. Tomorrow. But yeah, obviously, thank you very much, Des, for taking over my thing. And just seen a comment from Eve. Eve, yes, it's on my wall. It's there.
And yes. I'll just show you.
Yeah.
We've all got them. This is 2023. So, guys, if you want a calendar, we all know what Eve does. Everybody who follows Forest, if you don't know what she does lots of pictures. You know, she uses it as therapy. You know, it's a great thing. You know, it's a great thing, and it's supporting the DFIB charity as well. So, I think what the £6.
£6. If you want one, just message me or Des, and we'll send you in the right direction as well.
So yeah, definitely. Shout out for Eve. Shout out for all the work Dore does. Of course, I'll be back next week. Hopefully, it's a lot more positive on Monday. Hopefully, Dore's not dragging me out to do even more shows in the meantime.
That's it. You're done.
I've got my own work to do. You know,
I'm jealous.
Sacked in the morning, used and abused.
I'm jealous. People in the comments. I saw the poll. I think Des won as well. So I'm back tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Don't be late. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm back in the band.
Don't not famous anymore. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Support. If you're watching after the live, do drop us your comments if you've got anything to add, and we'll try and create some content around it. I'm sure we will, won't we, Dore? So until then, what do we say?
Peace and love. Up the Forest.
Up the Forest.